All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next couple days, we're going to be discussing what occurred on September 22nd of 2020. It actually was a nice night. See, Jason Clearman was at a bar with his wife for a happy hour. And his wife is going to drive them home. She's driving. The victim is in the passenger seat. He's actually got the window down. It's at least that nice of a night on September that they're going at night around 7 o'clock with the window down. That same day, the defendant, Theodore Edgecomb, he's out, also enjoying his night. He's on a bike, very nice bike. He leaves home on a bicycle, and he leaves home with a 9mm handgun. Now, these two individuals are heading towards each other on Brady Street. Jason, the victim, he's driving in the passenger seat. He's heading westbound. The defendant, you're actually going to see from the video after he kind of walks his bike up the bridge area, up some stairs, gets down onto Holton. He actually walks and is walking his bike on the north side of Brady Street, heading eastbound. And he's going to be walking it for a while. What happens is when the defendant stops walking his bike, gets onto his bike and goes into the street, there's an incident. He gets into the street. Mrs. Clearman, she swerves. The window is open. And the victim, Jason, he swears. He says, Clearmans keep going. They keep going westbound. And ladies and gentlemen, they're going to go and eventually get to where Holton and Brady are. They go past Casablanca, which is where the defendant had walked his bike earlier eastbound, or maybe 5-6 minutes earlier. And as they drive past it and they get by Zanya's, go a little past Zanya's, they're at that intersection. And if you know that intersection, there's a bus stop and there's kind of a little area at that intersection, and there is a truck in front of them, and they have the red light. And there is a poll camera. There is a poll camera by the Milwaukee Police Department that captures both sides of this intersection. One facing westbound down Brady and one facing down Holton. Now, as the Clearmans are waiting at this red light, at the intersection, you will see the defendant comes up on his bicycle. And when he gets along the passenger side of the Clearman's vehicle, he stops, he interacts, he gets by the window, kind of into the window a little bit, and then he punches Jason. Punches him once. The victim's glasses go flying. He bleeds. There's actually going to be blood on the window and on the door. And you'll see the defendant, who's still on his bike, he starts going. Jason begins to get out. The victim gets back into his car. And this intersection, just so we're clear, the victim rounds the corner, the truck in front of them moves, the victim and his wife, she follows around that corner. This is a matter of seconds. The defendant is on his bicycle. He stops. He's picking his bicycle out of the street. He's going to go back down those stairs that he'd originally come up with just minutes before. Mrs. Clearman pulls over. And the victim sadly gets out. He gets out and he jogs and he moves and he goes towards the defendant, who's now by the stairs. And the defendant is stopped. And the victim approaches him. Some witnesses say that he got into a boxing stance. Other witnesses describe it as a confrontation. He was getting ready to confront the defendant, the man who had just pulled up on a bike, punched him in the face. Mr. Clearman has no weapon in his hands. And he's got a knife in his pocket, but there's nothing in his hands. And the defendant pulls out his 9mm handgun. And he raises it, and he shoots the victim in the face. The bullet's going to go in above the left eyebrow, and it's going to remain in his head, where an autopsy pulls it out. The firearm is so close that there's actually stippling and burned particles on the victim's face. And you're going to see in this video, yes, it's at a distance. It's not as close as when you see the defendant punch the victim right in the face. It's a little further off. And we'll do the best we can to zoom in. You're going to see the victim die. He's going to literally drop in front of your eyes. He walks up to the defendant, and then he goes down, and he goes down hard, because he's just been shot in the face. And he dies in front of his wife, in front of other witnesses. And then the defendant picks up his bike and either steps over the victim or walks right by him, because the victim has fallen down onto the stairs. You're going to see how his blood is literally pooling and going down the stairs. He walks right by this man. He never checks on him. He never gave him a warning. He just pulled out a gun, shot him in the face, and then he leaves. He goes down the stairs. He gets on his bike. He bikes down to the east and eventually gets to home. You're going to see video showing him going to these locations, past a number of different places. He never stops. He never stops till he gets home, where he places the bike down in the basement, a place he normally doesn't keep it. And then he walks out. And he's not seen again for months. He gets home, he doesn't call 911. He doesn't do anything. He goes on the run. He runs from his house. He runs from his scene to his house, and from his house to we don't know where. He is gone for months.
Opening statement. You hear the prosecutor say to the jury, you are going to see the victim die. We will stop there to bring you the rest of the opening statement. You will not miss a thing. Stay tuned here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott, honored to be with you. Opening statements have begun in the state of Wisconsin versus Theodore Edgecomb. This is the case in which it's an allegation of road rage, and as a result, the victim was shot and killed by the defendant. The question becomes, is it self-defense? Opening statements have begun. The prosecutor is describing what happened on a very nice night in 2020, September 22nd. As he continues to describe, you haven't missed any of his opening statement. Let's go back to court.
We don't know where it is. Maybe we'll find out. Months later, in March, a Kentucky State Patrolman has an encounter with the defendant. The defendant lies about his name. He gives a fake name, trying to get away. He says he doesn't have a driver's license, says he's got something from the Bahamas. And when the Kentucky State Patrolman or trooper finds an ID card in the defendant's name, the defendant claims it. He won't say who he is. And that's how he's found. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next couple days, we're going to walk you through this case. We're going to walk you through everything that has happened, the good and the bad. A horrible, senseless incident that begins with a swear word and is escalated to a punch, and it is ended with a bullet into the brain. You're going to hear a case that the defendant did everything in his effort to make certain you would not hear. Because he took off and he tried to make certain people wouldn't find him. And when this is done, ladies and gentlemen, I will come back up here and I'll ask you to find the defendant guilty, because we will have proven it. Thank you.